He ghosted you, or he walked away, and now part of you is waiting, hoping that the time apart is doing something to him, that he is reflecting, that he is growing, that when he comes back, something will be different. Most people will never say this out loud. Time apart does not guarantee change. Coming back does not mean he has grown. There are 3 very specific signs that tell you, before he even returns, whether real change was ever possible. And if these 3 things were present in your relationship, the honest answer is, he will not come back different. Before getting into the 3 signs, we need to talk about the story most women tell themselves when a man returns after ghosting or disappearing. The story goes like this. He needed space to realize what he had. The time apart made him see things clearly. Missing me changed him. He is back, so something must have shifted. That story is so easy to believe because you want it to be true. Because the alternative, that nothing changed, that he is exactly the same person who left, is painful to sit with. But here is the truth that will actually set you free. Change does not happen because time passed. Change does not happen because someone missed you. Change happens under very specific conditions. And if those conditions were never present, the time apart produced nothing. A man who returns without having done the internal work is not a changed man. He is the same man in a new moment, and the same patterns will resurface, often faster than before. The first sign is the most fundamental. There was no demonstrated potential before the relationship ended. Potential is not what you saw in him. It is not what you believed he was capable of. It is not the man you knew he could be if he just tried harder, or healed more, or chose differently. Demonstrated potential is behavioral evidence. It shows up in actions, not in words, and not in your imagination. Ask yourself honestly, before things fell apart, did he ever show genuine self-reflection without being pushed into it? Did he take real ownership of his behavior without deflecting or minimizing? Did he express visible discomfort with his own patterns? Not just discomfort with the consequences, but with the behavior itself. Did he show any evidence that he actually wanted to be different, not just wanted things to be better between you? If the answer to those questions is no, if the relationship was characterized by deflection, blame shifting, minimizing, and zero unprompted accountability, then there was no demonstrated potential. And a man with no demonstrated potential before the relationship ended has no foundation to build change on during the time apart. The raw material was never there. The second sign is harder to hear, because it involves looking at your own role in the dynamic. Chronic overfunctioning is when the feminine energy in the relationship consistently does the emotional labor that should have been shared. This looks like initiating every repair after conflict. Being the one who always comes back first, always softens first, always extends the olive branch. Explaining your needs so carefully and so thoroughly that he never had to develop the capacity to ask. Adapting yourself, your standards, your expectations, your reactions, to accommodate his limitations. Shielding him from the full weight of consequence. Making it easier for him to stay the same by managing the fallout of his behavior before it could fully land. Here is why this matters so much. Systems that are buffered from consequence do not evolve. If every time he fell short, you regulated the relationship back to stability, if you absorbed the impact so the relationship could continue, then he never had to develop the capacity to do that himself. He never had to feel the full weight of what his behavior cost. And a man who was never truly exposed to the cost of his patterns has no real motivation to change them. The discomfort that drives growth was never allowed to reach him. The third sign follows directly from the second. There was never a real exposure moment. An exposure moment is when the relationship container collapses, not because you left in anger or issued an ultimatum, but because his leadership failed, and the failure was unmistakably, undeniably his to own. Most relationships never reach that moment, because the feminine overfunctions, because she adjusts, because she holds things together just long enough for the crisis to pass, because she makes it possible for the relationship to survive in a way that lets him off the hook. And when that happens, when the system always finds a way to stabilize around his limitations, he never has to face the truth of what his behavior actually produces. He never has to stand in the wreckage and know, I did this. This is mine to carry. Without that moment, without that undeniable, unmanaged exposure, there is no real reckoning. And without a real reckoning, there is no real change. There is only the same man, in a new cycle, with the same patterns waiting to resurface. When all three of these are present, no demonstrated potential, chronic overfunctioning, and no exposure moment, the probability that he returns changed is effectively zero. Not because people cannot change. People absolutely can change. But because systems that do not demand evolution do not produce it. Change requires pressure. It requires consequence. It requires a man to sit in the full discomfort of what his behavior has cost, without someone managing it away, and to decide from that place that he wants to be different. So what do you do with this? First, stop interpreting his return as evidence of growth. His return tells you he misses you, or misses what you provided, or is uncomfortable with the distance. It does not tell you he has changed. Second, look for behavioral evidence, not words. If he has genuinely done work in the time apart, it will show in his behavior, in unprompted accountability, in changed patterns, in a different quality of presence. Words are easy. Sustained behavioral change is not. Third, stop overfunctioning in the evaluation phase. When he comes back, do not immediately move to repair, explain, or make it easier for him. Let him show you who he is now. Let him carry the weight of demonstrating change. Your job is to observe, not to manage. And fourth, be honest about what you actually saw before, not what you hoped for, not what you believed was possible, what you actually witnessed. That is your data. Waiting for someone to come back changed, when the conditions for change were never present, is not hope. It is a pattern. And that pattern keeps you stuck in a loop that costs you time, energy, and your own growth. You deserve a relationship where you do not have to overfunction to keep it alive. Where accountability does not have to be extracted. Where the person across from you is genuinely doing the work, not because you pushed them into it, but because they chose it. That relationship exists, but it requires you to stop accepting the return of the same man in a new moment as a substitute for it. Look at the evidence, trust what you saw, and invest your energy in your own expansion, not in waiting for someone else's.